Rightio, welcome to episode 2. We're going to try and get that heater box out. Not sure whether we have to take the whole box out or whether that core will disconnect. If we can disconnect these two coolant lines, and they look like they're just clipped on, we'll disconnect them, and then that connector may be able to pull out of the firewall enough for us to slide that heater core out, and we don't have to take the whole heater box out. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. Get on them. See the video. There might not be much coolant in it since it let go, and it's all on in your footwell. So just using a hose pick to get these off. Got the top one off, but broke that T-piece. So I'd say that's, can you see that? That was partially corroded. So we're going to get a new T-piece as well. I'm just trying to save these pipes, so we'll try and get this one off now. Right, now we'll see how much of that we can push through. I think we'll have to take that heater box out a little bit. That's the piece that broke off. It's like a Nylex garden hose T-piece. I've got no idea if that's standard or whether someone's been in here playing around before. Maybe this has all happened once upon a time in another life of this Falcon. But we'll see what the actual part is. In the meantime, just want to get a video of this so we know what we're after. So that pipe goes off on a T. This one, that one there goes to the top hose, and the bottom hose is still connected there. Okay, so that's the bottom one. Okay, so with the pipes disconnected from the other side of the firewall, you can see the unit here, but we still need to get the pipes out, and because it's the whole unit has to come forward before this, before that can slide out. It's just sitting in there, but it's not going to come out now. We did consider cutting that. We might still do that, but that doesn't help us get the new one in. So still got to work this one out. Right, so the trick to getting this heater box out, we think the heater box and the fan module all comes out in one big single unit. There's that bolt up there, that one over there. Henry's found one down under here, and we think there's another one under here. We're sort of working on the theory that all those 4 bolts lift the whole thing out. I'm not sure what happens here. Henry, there. We'll have a look, we'll let you know. So there's another bolt in under the fan unit, which is a 13mm, but you need a deep socket to get to that. There's another bolt up here again, 13mm. You need a bit of a deep socket to get over the thread. When you're doing this one, the foam might have to be pushed back around that because it's got a fairly wide flange on it. The one in my left hand here is the top one that just came off from behind the foam. The big fat one here, whilst they're both 13mm, is the one that came off the bottom under that fan unit. Okay, so that wiring harness comes around this front of the fan. I've just disconnected the two from there. There's a couple of clips just there, so that will come out. There's another connector down here, so that should, I think there's another one there, so we'll pull that one out. And then I'm not sure if we've got all the bolts yet. We've got 6. I've got somewhere in my head, I'm thinking that there's 7. We'll keep looking for those. So, very difficult to get this box out. We're cutting this out for now. We're purposely cutting right down near the core, so that if we do decide to put the old one in and can't get it in because of the, I guess, the geometric restrictions, then we might cut the old one, the new one, and put a joiner in it. Not ideal, but if we flare those ends, get a good tight connection over it, we should be right. At least this is the old one, it had to come out, so not saying we're going to do this for the new one, but anyway, we'll see how it goes. So that's cut off. That now allows us to slide that unit out. Pull out from the firewall too, Henry. Yep, so they're out too. So save them because we may end up reusing them. We might square this up, flare it, if we can't get the new one in. So there's the old one. I wonder where it's leaking from. We might hook that up to the hose, Henry, and see what that goes on. Righto, time to order a new one, I guess. So you might remember from episode 1, when we took the dash out, this loom had a plug and 3 wires that didn't allow us to disconnect. I suspect it was some aftermarket connection. As I said, it was a police car, so they may have had some sort of aftermarket connections for devices, whatever. So I'm going to strip these wires back and pop a little connector on it. This is a 6-way connector. All you need to do obviously is put the little connector pairs on it, stick them in the back of the white box, and then when it comes time to putting the dash in, provided we've got the right wires lined up in the right positions, that will all reconnect, and it'll be a nice way of reconnecting them. So I'm going to do that now. It's not a big job. I don't plan on doing much videoing. I just wanted to show this so we captured it. I'll put a bit of solder on each one of these connections, just so that when I put them into the block, I know there's a good connection there. So for those watching at home, we've got the brand new heater core. We're cutting it. I'll explain why in a minute. I'll explain why I cut it. Short answer is, it's too hard to get that heater box out. To get the heater box out, we've got to disconnect the air conditioner. We took all the bolts out, and there's a whole heap of things that just wasn't going to come out. So this means we've got to cut to get this back in and rejoin it. There's a little bit of risk associated with that, but if we get the clamps on tight enough, we're going to flare the ends of these pipes. It'll just save us a whole heap of work. sure you always choose a good trailer, sturdy trailer for your workbench. Right, so we've cut that, as you saw, that just slides in. We've flared the ends of those, and I've just put a couple of hose clips and a bit of coolant hose on there. That can now go into that space up here. That just slides in through the firewall. Now, and I'll just push that in, and then it'll be a case of just slipping these over the top. So that gives you a bit of an idea how that looks. That's all in now. We need to obviously screw that in and get the other side of the firewall on. So we'll do that tomorrow. It's starting to get dark now, so we'll do that tomorrow. So that's the finished product. We've done those up fairly tight. We'll get the dash back in now. For those who watched episode 1 and were wondering what was holding the dash in, these are the little clips, little big paper clip looking things, and that's where that Allen bolt goes. So that's why you don't have to loosen that right off, because there's a piece that slots into there, and then you just pull that together by tightening the bolt. So the plan is, as you can see, it's raining outside. We're just putting all the final bolts back onto the heater box because we didn't need to pull that out in the end. I've tightened up all of those connectors. We'll plug that back. There's a bolt that goes back into the firewall, and then we'll bring the dash in, and I think the dash best comes in at an angle like this, slides in under that, and then pushes down, and then we'll locate it with the few bolts that we've got to hold that in, and then we can start connecting all the wiring back up to it. And then once all the wiring's done, we'll finally tighten the bolts. So you would have just seen us trying to jiggle that in. It just takes a bit of poking and prodding. Now I've just popped in that screw, or that bolt, sorry, that bolt there. Do the same on the other side. Take them up, then you can then get this one threaded. Now that's the one, it doesn't come out, it just sits out here the whole time. Poke it back in, try and get it threaded, and now I'm just working at 10 mil back in. That's basically the 6 bolts that are on the dash, and then there's the one underneath. That'll get the dash back in, and then it's just a case of rewiring and plugging all the little bits and pieces back in. There's also that bolt there that has to go back in, so it's just a case of popping that in. There's a fixed nut on the other side for that to thread into. And there we go. I'll tighten that up, and then that's all the main bolts. Right, when it comes time to popping that handbrake back in on there and there, just make sure you pop them in, and then it drops down, and then the bolt holes, those 3 bolt holes, all line up, and you can tighten that up. I've decided, well, I think it's the only way to do it. I put the console in, the handbrake through the handbrake boot before tightening all that up, because you need to be able to move this around and get it into the right spot. So I think I've done it the right way. Right, we've got the steering column out. The problem is it's not going back in because we're about 20 millimeters too short on this end to get to the firewall connection, the joint at the firewall. We've mounted it there, and we're too short here. I think because that's adjustable, it's slid in, but it's just not coming out all the way. We're not sure why. A few of the forums are saying stick it in and just yank on it until it eventually comes free. So I think we're going to try that and see what happens. So when you put this instrument cluster back in, there's a couple of screws, one down there, two in there. You can just see that one and that one. But there's a couple of little plastic clips just up in here. You just need to make sure that you push this up and then push it forward. I just held that in so they didn't pop out while I did the screws up, and then that all stays in fairly nice and secure. So once the instrument cluster's in, that bit of trim and steering column shroud can go back in. That just clips in place. Can't do it with one hand, but I'll do that. And Henry's working on this side, just getting that trim and glove box back in. So when putting this in, there's a little tab about there. I just stuck my finger up, pushed it up to make sure it slipped in without cracking it. There's another one about there. You can see I'm just pushing my finger up there, and that just got it in. That top piece goes in under the instrument panel, and then that is right to just clip in like that. Perfect. Right, once you've ready to put the steering wheel on, you just need to plug that plug there back into the surround and pull these two through. I'm going to put a bit of blue Loctite on the thread for that and torque that up. Right, we've had to resort to a bit of bush engineering. For those of you who don't know, that is the gear selector shaft that goes down through the automatic selector piece, which sits inside there. We didn't realise, but when we pulled the dash out, we accidentally snapped the top of that off. So that is normally longer. So Henry, hold that. We have done some bush engineering. We have cut the top off a threaded bolt, put it into a bit of plastic. That plastic is just now cut to the right length to go over that and get to the first collar. We believe that may allow the shifter to operate up and down. Ideally it should be solid, but we think there's enough rigidity in that plastic, and the gear selector has a hard plastic surround, so that will stay within there, and we're going to give it a go. Right, there's a lot of trim pieces still to go on, but I've just got the airbag back on as well. You saw us do a bit of bush engineering on the gearbox. We are going to get another part for that. This is just to make sure we can operate it in the meantime. We're going to connect the battery, and I've reconnected all those. We're just going to pop a bit of coolant in here too, because we've lost a bit of coolant obviously through the process. And then we'll connect that battery up and start her up. So it's now resembling an FG Falcon again interior. A few little bits of trim still to go on, but most of this is right. We've just run it for 5 minutes with just circulating the coolant. There's no leaks. So we're pretty much done. Henry just needs to put that bit of trim, a few bits of trim back in. All the coolant's good. No leaks, as I said, and there's nothing under the dash where we put the heater core in, so that's probably it for us, guys. We'll let you know if anything happens, but yeah, I think we've got this one done and dusted. See ya. All right, all back together.